Oh god.
Okay, that's the end of the introduction. I just thought I'd like to introduce everyone. I'm Kix. This is the Shinhan Tank Pro League. It's been 2 years since I last did this, so it's going to be interesting, but I'm kind of glad that it's back. Today, casting with me are my two co-casters. First of all, Nina Zerg
Hi.
and Jealous.
Hello, everybody.
I'd like to point out how weird that was, because I was actually pointing... I pointed either side of me, which was kind of strange, but that's fine.
I also waved at the screen.
Yeah, that's weird how streams do that. Okay, so basically for you guys watching today, we have two best of fives. These are the first two show matches. If there's any problem with the audio levels or anything in the stream as well, just make sure to paste in the chat or whatever, and someone will tell me and I can sort it. Basically, we're going to start off our best of fives today. There's two of them, and we're going to start with FanTaSy versus Yuck. Yeah, hopefully not Fancy and Yuck, Fancy and Stork. Yuck's in the other game. This is off to a good start.
So it's the rematch of the Kong Line finals that happened twice in a row, right?
Yeah, it's a true Kong battle here. Like the Kong is real, and
Like the Donkey Kong arena.
yeah, pretty much.
On 64.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
usually for the STPL I'd have some more screens to throw up, but because we're technically not showing a full team game, my STPL system wasn't really designed for this. So what I'll do is I'll open up with... I'm not showing the right thing. Yeah, so on my stream screen at the moment, here's the stats for SK Telecom T1 and Samsung Khan from 2 years ago. So down the bottom you have the Terran, Zerg and Protoss win rates for the three teams. The Terran did pretty well for SKT, I must say. And in terms of Khan, there wasn't too many Khan players, but the guy who played Stork previously, I believe, did actually win his game. So he bought his one win for his team. And I guess it makes sense just to go straight into what maps we're going to see today as well. Maybe...
Jealous? Did you play it last season?
No, I was not a
okay.
participant.
Oh, okay. I think Kix your FanTaSy, right?
I was last time. This time.
Okay.
We actually don't know who is who.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
I'm not gonna ask who he is this time. I was curious if Jealous played in the last one, because I don't know who most of the people were.
I think that adds the magic and mystery to it. I like to keep that way. Even if I do know who someone is, I'm not going to say anything. In fact, I'm going to commentate as if this is the actual Star League. I'm going to do the countdown. I'm going to say fighting, everything.
That's cool,
No,
because
I'm just kidding. I'm not scaring you. All right.
that would be really cool though. You should do that. And I'm looking at the wrong screen. Okay, someone pointed out that I misspelled STPL in my first screen, so I fixed that quickly. Basically, the 5 maps, I assume you two know what they are, so I'll let you sort of introduce them. And they're on my stream if you don't. Hoping you read.
So first map is Fortress SC. Do you want us to talk about balance a little bit, or do you want us to just list them off one by one?
We'll talk about the map balance as we go into each game. I've got some map stats as well for the individual maps.
Okay. Well, for some reason I can't watch your stream and and everything. I just have the chat open by itself, so I don't know what map you're looking at the moment. So maybe Nina, you could take over that role.
All right, I'd have to turn on stream. All right.
Okay.
Let's look at Let's look at okay, I see. Alright, I see Fortress, there's Match Point, there's Judgment Day, there's Aztec, and Circuit Breaker. Oh, and it actually says what they are. Okay. Should have just scrolled down a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. So there's the 5 maps. For the first 5 maps for the show matches, I decided to pick maps I like, and Circuit Breaker because everyone knows that map. I thought that'd be a good decider. And basically, I've always been a kind of person who likes playing loads of different maps. I don't understand people who play nothing but Fighting Spirit, so I've made it my mission that if I was going to run a tournament, which I ended up doing this, people would play stuff that wasn't Fighting Spirit. Now, it's not to say Fighting Spirit won't be in the map pool, it definitely will be, but it wasn't this week, so when everything gets started again properly, you guys will sort of see that a little bit later. Now, as we're going into the first game, I'd like to point out Fortress SE. Neither of these players have actually played on this map before, previously, so the way my map stats work is it takes into account whenever people have played on a map, and it takes their win and loss, and if anyone's played on it at all, it'll add up to the individual map stats. Now, Jealous, I'm not sure if you're adverse in the actual old Pro League map stats, but if you are, now would be a good time to talk about Fortress.
I know pretty much nothing about the absolute balance on Fortress. I can just point you to key games, some great games that happened on Fortress, such as the Best vs. Flash game that happened on this map.
Yes.
Flash used
Yes,
dropships
absolutely.
to dissect Best on this map, and this was at the
That
time
was great.
when Best was supposedly one of the old, like, he was hyped up to be the guy who could take Flash down, and he got absolutely dismantled by Flash on this map. So I am looking forward, especially considering FanTaSy is a dropship-oriented player. I would like to see that kind of approach to this map from him as well.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is when you actually look at the map features, there's a lot of things that really stand out. There's a lot of room in the back and the back of the main, and also the bottom of the natural, where a dropship's really good, and later game it can be really good for arbiters as well. The other really important map feature on this map that doesn't really feature in too many others is the 4 corner bases are technically islands that you can use the mineral wall glitch to get the workers through, and I've always found that a really cool mechanic. I wish they would have put on other maps as well.
Yeah, it kind of forces airplay into the game because there's no other way to damage these corner bases. So I think that that's a really interesting mechanic. It definitely encourages, I guess, 2-base arbiter, which should be probably good on this map, I think. I did just look up the statistics for the map itself, and Protoss and Terran are 50-50 over both versions of Fortress.
Oh, cool.
About 40 games, 40 games won per race, so decent sample size, and we shouldn't expect a significant advantage in any direction here.
One thing I want to point out is that there's a lot of gas on this map.
Yeah.
Because not only the ones usually on most maps, like the expansions in the middle are just mineral expansions, but on this map, they have geysers.
They do.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And it's...
I feel like...
I mean, they're...
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, they're super open, but they do have geysers.
What I want to say was I think that this could add to kind of like a snowball effect, where the more territory you let your opponent expand to, the more gas-heavy their armies can become, which is especially a problem for Zerg. And for Terrans as well, I feel like as soon as they get their 3rd and 4th gas, they can last for 2 hours on those 3 or 4 gases after that point. So something definitely to look out for. I guess it favors aggression a little bit, maybe. Forces the other player to play aggressively.
Yeah, it's very... Sorry, I just read something in chat. It's very very much like Outsider in a way, because you can either choose to take the center map and go for those 4 middle bases, or at least 2 of them, or you can actively try and go around the edge of the map with, say, dropships or overlords and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how both these players play this map, because Fortress isn't one that you really see on IC Cup very often. So it'll be interesting to see if there is, say, a player who doesn't play Fighting Spirit, how they're going to adapt their play to suit this map.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that someone just mentioned in chat, Zero Chrome said that this map favors Terran pretty heavily in My StarCraft, which is that StarCraft Pro League Management app that was released a couple years ago. So apparently, maybe that programmer thought that this map could be Terran favor. So I'm excited to see what FanTaSy does on this map.
Every map is Terran favored.
That is not incorrect.
And moving on to the players, my music stopped because a little bit longer, but that's fine. But we have FanTaSy. Now, this is his stats across the Bacchus Off GameNet Star League and the Shinhan Tank Pro League from 2 years ago. So he's currently a total of 5 games, only won 2 and lost 3. But in those wins, he actually got himself into the round of 8 of the first Bacchus Off GameNet Star League. So pretty impressive there. I think this is just his STPL stats as well. So he played 5 games overall and a 40% win. Anything to be scoffed at, I guess. Too bad. And then
with a competitive field like this, I feel like getting 2 wins, 3 losses is very, very strong because this is such a star-studded lineup we have here.
Yeah. And moving on to the second player, who, as you can see, doesn't have a photo yet. I need to get one. He's only actually played once in the Shin Tank Pro League before, in 2015, and he actually lost his game, so I was incorrect when I was looking at the team stats before. But it's not all bad. This is going to be his chance. I believe this is a different player playing as Stork this time, so it's going to be his chance at redemption.
Alright, I'm looking forward to it.
I guess that's a perfect time to actually throw it into the game as well, so I'm going to throw up my good old set image I had before, which is now not loaded because I need to sort my program out. But yeah, so we're going to actually head straight into the first game. It is between FanTaSy and Stork, as you can see on your screen right there. And are you guys ready?
You
Yes.
still have an okay, good. I see the image now. Alright, I'm ready.
I was born with a headset on.
That must have hurt your mother.
It did.
Alright, in the mid right, we have the yellow Protoss Stork. And
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nina.
I thought you were just I thought you were introducing them.
No. I thought I'd leave it to you two.
Oh, okay.
and alright,
Okay,
and
so
in the bottom we have. Yeah, go ahead, Nina.
No. It's over. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so I'll do it then, because obviously we can't decide. In the bottom, in the 6 o'clock position, we do have SK Telecom T1's FanTaSy.
Spawning in Peach.
Yeah, the Peach Terran. Don't really see that very often.
It's kind of a skin color, actually.
Well,
Skin Terran.
Peaches have skin, so. So, one thing I need to note right off the jump, I believe that this Protoss placed his pylon next to the gas, but that is not the direction of where his exit from his base is. So that already puts his gateway kind of behind in his base, whereas me as Protoss, I'd prefer to build my gateways going downwards. Although he does build it to the left of his nexus, I don't think that he's going to go for anything aggressive anytime soon with this positioning.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you have FanTaSy walling off. This is a map where you can wall off with just a supply depot and a barracks, and it's zealot tight, and for the most part in but one of the positions, I believe, the link tight as well. So super safe opening from FanTaSy.
And
I guess that's.
what do you know
good.
about these eggs? Is it common for people to try to snipe them, I guess, in Zerg versus Protoss walls, or maybe in Protoss versus Terran walls? But do they help you wall, and or is killing them
do.
therefore an option?
Yeah,
They do, but they have a lot of health.
Yeah, I can't remember if they're stacked.
They might be like, I think the way to kill them is you have to do splash damage to them.
Yeah, that's the
makes
main
sense.
thing. On a map like Pathfinder as well, you have very similar things where there's eggs in a very similar vein to that. and Lings can actually kill them, so I'm not sure if they're stacked or not. I know one map they definitely are stacked on is Neo Tornado, because there's the little high ground pods outside the thirds that if you kill the eggs, you can get a lot of tanks up there, and it's very, yeah, dastardly.
Interesting. So we do see a gateway pylon cybernetics build, which means that he was anticipating to do zealot pressure, but then he delayed his build, and he's actually throwing down a second gateway now, our Protoss player. And this isn't 10:15. This is supposed to be, I guess, 10:21. I think he might have missed a probe because of the build being a little bit off, and he is building a zealot as well. Not sure what the zealot is for in this kind of walled situation. What do you guys think? Why would he build a zealot despite knowing?
I don't know.
As well.
If he's going 2-gate goon, I don't know why he would go zealot, because if you don't get the zealot, you can get the core quicker. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But I'm sure he has a master plan because he's a pro gamer. So I'm not going to question it.
And he throws out a Nexus behind this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Nexus, the Zealot is chasing away the the SCV as well, so it's making FanTaSy use a little bit extra APM, just trying to keep his scout alive. And it looks like, oh, he does actually manage to get out of there. That was close.
I would have liked to see the Zealot not chase the SCV, so that the SCV just stays where the two gates are, waiting for the Dragoons, and never scouts the Nexus. I think that would have been an interesting play, but as we see, the Dragoons are on their way out, and I do feel that this tank and the siege mode coming after it, shortly after it, will be in time to deflect most of the damage from these relatively late 2 Dragoon pressure.
Yeah, it'll be fine from the Terran, because you'll notice he's not getting spider mines and going for a fake double, and that's perfectly fine against 2-gate, because if they go 1-gate, you can usually use the timing to push them back. But if they have double gates, you usually will get run over to try to go fake double. So Siege Expand is probably the better option here. Except I don't see Siege from him.
Should start now. I think he didn't have enough gas for a little bit, and it just started immediately.
The Ops was actually watching FanTaSy there, and he noted that FanTaSy didn't actually put his guys back in gas for quite a while. And it looks like FanTaSy built a building there and cancelled it.
Yeah, he built an engineering bay and then he blew it up.
So this build is actually interesting because the Nexus does go down earlier than the command center, and he has enough Dragoons to potentially make it slightly difficult for this Terran to take that base without siege mode completed. So now that he's seeing the command center flying over, I would definitely send my Dragoons out there. Do you guys maybe think that it might be a cute, or is it pointless to place a pylon to prevent the command center from landing it and wait for the Dragoons to arrive? Because with one siege tank, this is still a very vulnerable position, and he does
definitely do it.
He puts down
definitely do that.
Yeah, so siege mode just finishes. The siege mode's in a really good position here to actually gun down the goons as they go for the command center.
Yeah, I was actually very
the goons are out of range.
This is really protected here, yeah.
So the siege tank has to move forward, which it's not going to be too much of a hassle, but it's just going to delay. Oh, he's got shook. He's not. Yeah, he's going to land the command center to protect the tanks.
Yeah, I guess with FanTaSy, he can't actually see where the Dragoons are at the minute. He does know there's 2 gates. A little bit.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
He did see the Nexus go down, though.
Yeah, I feel both players are playing a little bit scared, and not completely without reason. I mean, the Protoss pressured the Terran siege tanks pretty much covered the entirety of the entrance into the base, so neither player wants to commit to anything that would put them in too difficult of a situation in the coming play.
Oh, and looks like. You still here?
She still shows up on Discord. Oh. Power outage, no.
Yeah, the MSL, we decided to put the players in a different studio, and it just so happens the power went on that one. Okay, I guess we need to wait for Nina. But one thing I did notice in the background was FanTaSy's going up to a starport with a second factory at the same time, and only then added his engineering bay on. And it does look like, from the minimap, at least, he's sending his command center back.
I think that is a very strong play. He knows that there can't really be something that would require an engineering bay out already, given the Protoss' build so far, where he did get a decent amount of Dragoons after getting a Nexus as well. There's no way that Reaver would be out by now, or DT, in my opinion. So delaying the engineering bay was definitely a good idea here.
Yeah, he actually scouted with a second SUV as well and saw there was no... Like, the robo was just building when he got into the base, and he only saw two gateways at the time as well.
True. Also, I like the dropship play in general as a theory on this map because, as we mentioned earlier, of the semi-island nature of the bases, where it allows you to potentially take a really greedy third base and defend it with very little. So, and Nina is officially offline now on Discord. So,
do we carry on or do we wait for her to join? I don't know if she can rejoin.
It depends on whether she quit the game or not. I feel that in the interest of the cast, we should probably just finish this game out and see if maybe she comes back for the next one.
Okay, so she's dropped. There we go.
Alright. So, I noticed that looks like Stork has already sniffed it out, and even though it was scanned perfectly by FanTaSy, there's already 4 Dragoons parked in the main base of Stork. He's well prepared for this, and he has 3 Dragoons and a Zealot standing in the ground behind the natural. In fact, though, straight up Vulture run by would probably do more damage than a drop with this kind of positioning right here.
Yeah, you can tell possibly that Stork hasn't played this map too much because he's built a really odd pylon wall. And I can kind of understand his reasoning behind it, but it seems to be a very odd position.
Yeah, you would probably want to start it from on top of the egg, the bottom egg, and then work your way towards that ridge on the top. Is that where you think you would want to place yours?
I think if I was building a pylon wall, I'd perhaps build it diagonally down from the nexus. That's not a good position. There is an observer in FanTaSy's main as well, which is actually looking at the factory count. He should feel pretty safe knowing.
And looks like there's another observer heading out to see if anything moves out the front, but the Vultures circumvent it fortuitously somewhat, and they managed to lay a few mines out in the middle of the field. Meanwhile, the front door is still wide open for any sort of Vulture harass. Quite surprised that I don't see anything here.
I think the big thing is he doesn't have Vulture speed yet, it looks like, so he does get that probe going to build a third base as well, which is quite a nice pick-off.
And a very interesting play here. We see a +1 coming from the Protoss already before there's a starport even. And I can't help but believe, and here comes the harass actually. It gets caught really quickly. I'm going to finish my thought and say that I find it very weird that he's doing all this before even Citadel is up, getting the +1 attack. I guess he was scared of harass, so he thinks about placing some cannons down.
Yeah, I guess if he was going to get the cannons anyway, it makes sense to throw that up. And the big thing is as well, FanTaSy scanned both the top bases as well, so he knows that he's not taking a third or anything at the...
Yeah, and meanwhile FanTaSy himself is starting up his third command center. He looks like he's going to be expanding towards the Protoss, taking the island in between them. I'm not 100% sure if I like this decision or not. It might make it a little bit easier for him to leapfrog into the Protoss natural with dropship play, because you can siege behind the wall and then siege on top of the wall. But at the same time, I feel like it might be a little bit more of a risky position going on later into the game, when Arbiters will have to fly a lot less distance in order to recall, and same thing with carriers. So what are your thoughts on the matter, Kicks?
I wouldn't have thought that carriers would be very popular. I guess I've seen quite a lot of games on this map, and this is the person playing as Stork, and Stork loved carriers. We could see them right now, but with the Arbiters it makes sense because they are a lot closer, but it's also less likely, I would say, and as I'm about to say, it's less likely he'll go down and scout that base thinking, why would he expand there? He sends an observer there, so that kind of ruined my thought there. But It's very easy to mass build turrets on the bottom of that ridge, and that'll make it, like, if anything, it makes it a little bit better to defend his main against recall as well, because it removes that bottom right way in, so he only has to really cover the top of his base.
And we actually are seeing double forge now. No Stargate yet out of our Protoss player. No shuttle, just pumping straight observers. So looks like he's going to forego any sort of aerial options early in the game. Be content to take his third base. I guess if you consider the amount of time that the dropships will need to spend ferrying SCVs, they're going to come up at about the same time. But I would say that I favor Terran's position a little bit more here, just because of how safe and how minimal the defenses have to be at the third base for him to keep it.
Yeah, so FanTaSy's headed up to 5 factories now, and it looks like Stork is actually on 6 gateways, so it's an okay position to be in as Terran as well. I mean, the important thing is where his mines are. He could actually probably just maynard some SCVs rather than having to drop them. But he's built 2 dropships anyway, so he'll use those to get those across.
And now we're seeing double armory from the Terran player, who seems fully prepared to go into the late game. I would like to see a science facility to go along with these armories, but they should start maybe in about 30 seconds, 45 seconds from now, probably. Meanwhile, the Protoss walking dangerously close to these mines, going to eat one of them, clear out the rest. And Vulture's continuing to patrol around the map, making sure that the Protoss does not take a greedy fourth base.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see FanTaSy's vision at the moment, to see if he actually saw the third base go up. Because I saw he scanned the top right again and saw that there was no base, so it's possible that he may be sitting there at the top with his vultures thinking, oh, he's not taking a third base yet. It would be a bit odd. It does look like he scanned the top right again, as I was explaining that as well.
Yeah, on the mini-map, now that I'm looking at it through his vision alone, through FanTaSy's vision alone, it does seem like there's a bit of a dark area there, and I don't see any semblance of what it would have been a building there.
Yeah, I mean, when you swap vision in this game on replays, it doesn't keep their vision, I don't think, so you wouldn't know if you saw buildings, but if it is a dark area, then
Yeah, the dark area covers pretty much, let me see real quick. It covers most of the area where the Nexus is, as far as I can tell, so I don't think he's aware of it. So this is very interesting. I mean, he has to know something is up, considering that Protoss can't just sit on 2 base for this long against a 3-base Terran.
Yeah, one thing I have noticed is FanTaSy's actually using his 2 dropships now. He's filled one with tanks and vultures. Maybe 2 tank drops would be better, but he's going around the top of the map. There's actually a Nexus going up now, right around the mines as well, so he may actually be able to snipe this.
And he flies right by. I guess is he going to try to draw out the Protoss army first and then maybe drop in the main instead? That would be an interesting play. But the Protoss taking this as a cue to attack, again walking very dangerously close to mines. Oh, he's going to need a couple here. Oof.
That was a bit unfortunate. It looks like FanTaSy's almost waiting for that Nexus to finish before he drops his tanks, which is a bit odd, but if he can kill it, that would be very good. I mean, at the moment he knows the army's out there on the map, so he should really be dropping the main or something.
And at the same time, we have a drop on the bottom right base belonging to the Terran player. It was a few Zealots that gets held up quite easily. I believe the shuttle dies as well, so no major damage done here. The dropship from the Terran player, they're just now setting up, and they are going to reveal their position a little bit before the Nexus finishes. I think if he was willing to wait that long and risk the Protoss becoming aware of it, he could have waited a little bit longer. This Nexus needs to get cancelled though. He risks losing it.
He lost a lot of Zealots running in though to mines, so that's...
Oh my god.
That's unfortunate right there.
And I feel like this Nexus is going to be so heavily injured, it's going to be so vulnerable to future damage, but it is done on shield damage alone, so if he does a good job of maintaining the map, he won't take much damage. At the same time, we see Arbiter Tech has been started pumping. We have Templar Energy on the way. We don't have any Arbiter upgrade on the way. Oh, now he's getting recall. So it definitely looks like he's going to be going for an aggressive play off of this. He's not expecting the Terran to push. And the Terran does look fairly content to be sitting outside his natural right now.
Yeah, so the Terran's sitting pretty here on 3 bases. There's actually a command center going up that looks like it's going to fly over to the bottom left. FanTaSy after that drop did manage to get his dropships out as well, so he still has his 2 dropships that he can the pressure at least. There is 2 observers on the path of them, so
Oh.
Stork is going to know where they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of observers on the map. I'm really loving this map awareness from the Protoss player, but I can't help but feel that the amount of observers that he made delayed his arbiter timing, and I'm not sure if that trade-off is exactly ideal, but it's working out for him so far. He does have a great amount of awareness, and I don't think he'll be caught up, off guard by a drop anytime soon. The 4th command center that you pointed out is still sitting idle. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't take his 4th base now. There's really nothing that the Protoss can do to stop him. The Arbiter is, the recall just finishing up now. He only has 1 Arbiter out, I believe, and it does not have the energy.
Yeah, so it looks like he's sending out his vultures to actually lay some mines in the middle of the map, but he comes across the Arbitered army, so he's actually pulled some SCVs out with him as well to try and build turrets, but it's not the best place to do it because there's not too much terrain that's unbuildable. He's actually going to try and take a 5th base in the middle right or left even as well. Which is quite greedy actually, given his position.
I'm really, it's really peculiar for me as well. It seems like he's thinking about going for a map split situation where he's hoping to claim more islands, which in theory is good, but given how far away it is from his main army, you would expect that he wanted to be already pushed out there. And look at Protoss, he's sending his whole army to counteract these 2 vultures when there's only 4 probes there to begin with. This could be a big opening, actually, I believe. If Terran was aware of this the large amount of army moving out of the way, it could have created a little bit of a window for Terran to push forward. And we do see him unsieging now. Will he move forward and take advantage of this position?
Doesn't look like it.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Nina.
Bye.
Sorry, unfortunately we continued the game without you, so perhaps you'll join us in our next game?
I've been watching it, but I don't know what time you're at in the game.
We're at 17:05.
Oh, I'm ahead of you.
Okay, so there's actually a big engagement. There's actually no mines defending these tanks, so this is not a very good position. There's only 1 vessel out. It did EMP one of the arbiters, but the other one did get a stasis off. So tanks are in a pretty bad position here, but there's quite a nice concave from the Protoss as well coming down.
Yeah,
I think we just back off here.
Yeah, it's almost purely Dragoons now, so definitely a risky army to keep pushing with, but there aren't very many tanks left actually now that I look at it. The Terran army, despite its high supply count, I don't see where his army is located, and it should be worth noting that his sneaky 5th base did get denied during this engagement.
Yeah, he's actually flown it away as well, which is kind of funny. There's just command centers flying everywhere apart from the one on his natural that should be flying over. He's actually got a lot of SCVs on his natural as well, so it looks like a lot of his supply
Yeah, there's 100. The Terran is ahead in supply, but I don't see any semblance of an army. Now I see 3 tanks, 3 stasis, but actually the stasis ones are dead. He only has 4 tanks and 8 vultures on there. He has 1 control group of army and 170 supply. Even though the SCV count is, I wouldn't say it's bad. 77 is a pretty good number, maybe just a couple too many. But considering the fact that he's mined out of his main and about to be out of his natural, he's going to be very much starved for gas with a lot of useless SCVs.
Yeah, one thing to point out about FanTaSy as well is he's got quite a lot of factories, so there's quite a little bit of supply bloat there where he's actually got them building. They use up the supply before they pop out, so that could be
true.
That could be part of the thing. I mean, a lot of vultures just flooded out of his base there. He's actually already got quite a lot back out on the map, laying down some extra mines.
The famous Jung Laden terrorist vultures, and he does indeed have 12 factories. One of our viewers commenting that he's surprised by the sheer size of, oh, we have a recall in the main of the turn.
Yeah, and that got through all the turrets as well. The Observer's just focusing on it now. It looks like the Arbiter could actually die to a turret, so that's quite unfortunate. A few mines go off on the Vultures, so they're actually very, very low on health right now, but he's actually taking out quite a few supply depots at the moment.
Yeah, this drop, I don't think it did as much as it could have. It landed very far away from any of the tech, but he did soften up the base for potentially future recalls.
Yeah, so there's a lot less mines in the base. One thing to point out is during this, it looks like FanTaSy actually tried to drop the top base, but where he's a little bit distracted trying to deal with this recall, he's not actually managed to take advantage of the fact.
Yes, both players struggling a little bit to keep up with all the action happening all around the map. We now see SCVs transferring all the way across the map to the bottom right base, which seems to have been under SCV this whole time. The Terrans still refusing to take their 5th base.
It's still alive.
Yeah,
Yes,
that Arbiter's on 25 health, and it actually just killed a supply depot, which is quite unfortunate. It looks like that Nexus may actually go down, the one that was damaged earlier. Even though he didn't actually do any damage, the shields may not have fully regenerated at the time. Stasis actually comes down and saves it, which is very unfortunate for FanTaSy. But he does manage to pull out the dropships again, so he could actually go back and finish that off. It's actually on such low health when the stasis comes out, and there's nothing actually else to really soak the siege damage shots. The siege tanks could actually just kill the Nexus, I believe.
It depends on whether or not the Protoss, the Terran is focused on. I'm not sure if the siege tanks keep the same command. Actually, I know that for a fact they do, because stasis vessels shoot their EMP right after being unstasis. So nope, shoots at the pylon actually.
Oh, all the armies actually walked away, which is kind of unfortunate. It looks like he's going to focus down this this cannon actually.
Oh no! Ooh, opportunities missed by both players. The Protoss opened the door and the Terran decided not to walk through. He's clearly focused elsewhere. He's trying to take his 4th base finally, so transferring some SCVs out there.
Yeah, there's actually a few tanks pushing up the top, but there is a lot of Zealots and Dragoons, which are going to be cleaned up. Well, the tanks are probably going to be cleaned up. There's not really enough Vultures up here.
But at the same time, there's really not a lot of Zealots either, and these Dragoons all go down. A very costly engagement for both players, but Protoss is now actually well ahead of the supply, despite the way that this game has been going up until now. And he's trying to push into the main, but there's plenty of mines. The factories, the siege tanks are so far away from being complete. This is a very dangerous moment.
Yeah, these 6 Dragoons are all very low on health. Well, actually, that only one of them is. But they're actually going to be able to push up and maybe even take out this natural command center, which is kind of unfortunate for FanTaSy. And it looks like that Nexus still survives.
I would have probably liked to see this Protoss player maybe walk into the main, catch units as they come out piecemeal from the factories instead of trying to go for this command center that could easily be repaired. Definitely not the most efficient use of an opportunity here, as the supplies for Protoss is still higher, but it has gone down significantly.
There's going to be a recall in the bottom right. Then Arbiter just go in, they recall on top of 2 mines, and all the Zealot shields are gone. But there's just not enough units here to defend.
Oh my goodness, this is definitely... And the Arbiter once again down to 25 health, barely making it out of this engagement alive. Terran now cut down to 1 mining base as Protoss takes their 6th base total, 4th mineral line, well 3rd technically, and now it's looking pretty good for our Terran player. He looked like he was in a good position throughout the game up until a recent exchange of events.
Yeah, he's actually broke. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a lot of Vultures building and tanks, but he just doesn't really have any mining going on right now. He's transferring all his SCVs down into the bottom left, but there's a Zealot moving to that hidden 5th base again that the Observer's been sat watching this whole time. And there's also an Observer looking in the bottom right.
There's a little bit of a mini push going to the Protoss 5th base right now, but it's such a small army. I'm having trouble imagining that it's going to be able to hold this push for very long.
And it's in range of the cannons.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. He is, I guess, still trying to snipe that Nexus. Okay, no, now he's killing probes on the Nexus. And this Nexus might actually go down. The army is... oh no, Hunters arrived to stasis everything. Wow. Using stasis so defensively for such a small army just highlights, I think, how ahead this Protoss is. He has Arbiters to spare. He has part of his army trapped in the bottom right, but he still will have enough to clear off this push, I believe.
There is a lot of mines in between though, and the Dragoons are just running straight through them.
That is true, but these Vultures will have to be worth their weight in gold if this Terran hopes to get back into this game, I think.
Yeah, so the Vulture are actually trying to push their way up to defend, and they actually get distracted by a single Dragoon. One thing to note, there's only actually 5 Dragoons sat on top of this army. So, I mean, he's moved right on top of the tanks now, so the tanks won't actually be able to do anything. But that's another Nexus that survives with very, very low health.
Wow. series, and that it does make 2. The other one is still up. I forgot that it remained alive. There's 152 energy saved up on that one. Only 87 base health, and these vultures now trying to lay mines around these. Oh, and the stasis on the mine. Really?
Oh yeah, wow. At the meantime, FanTaSy's actually got 4. He had more tanks, but they're actually pulling back from this army that's running in. There's no arbiters to give them cloak, but he was actually chased away by the zealots there. There's
it would be sorry.
If
Go
that
ahead.
stasis mine kills him, that'd be really funny.
No, that's exactly what I was about to say. I was thinking that if he places one zealot on between the 2 tanks on the right side, the mine will instantly drag to those 2 tanks and explode. So if the stasis order is correct, then it could do some damage.
Yeah, it looks like he's actually moving most of his units away from the mine, which is quite sensible.
So, feedback from the chat says that they can't hear me talking very well.
Okay, am I very loud? Maybe? I'll turn myself down, that maybe helps. One other thing I'll check is...
Okay.
Okay, so do that a little... And yeah, Nina's casting it
Yeah.
next game. I think she's watching along, but she's slightly a little bit further ahead.
Feedback says that we are good now, and Zero Chrome says that he hears me fine as well. So maybe it was just a
you
minor
sound
situation.
muffled, apparently.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm using a laptop microphone. I can't really do much about that. I'm sorry.
That arbiter in the bottom right, it's been sat there for a long time. It has 27 health and 100 shields. It looks like he may be gearing up to do another recall. Actually grouped up those units top right. He's going to fly straight past this turret. There are mines there. He's going to recall on top of the mines again. But there's not enough.
Going to go down. But Protoss, the Terran is too broke to deal with this, and in typical FanTaSy style, I feel like there's almost no recourse for him, but he's going to stay in as long as possible. He's
actually building a CC. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mines around it as well, so if the Protoss is careless, he can actually hold this. He's going to have trouble dealing with these 7 units in his main though, which is quite unfortunate.
Absolutely. And the other thing to know is the Observer is standing right on top of the army. The mines are there. One recall in the middle of those tanks will completely nullify this expansion. I feel like completely erase any opportunity that FanTaSy has to win. But the tanks do, some of them do pull back. There's actually a decent amount of them. He's going to be able to clear this out.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it doesn't look like Stork has actually gone for a recall in the bottom left, so he's just letting him mine off this base. He is going to take this left side natural, secure him main as well. But I find it quite interesting that Stork's not actually choosing to use this 2k mineral to build a load of gateways in the main. I suppose he thinks he's really, really far ahead, which is fair enough given the position, but when you're ahead, it's good to get more ahead.
Yeah, another issue that I'm noticing is that Stork is only on 53 probes, and I think that has to be a major factor as to why he's not banking up at all. And as you mentioned, his gateway count, he actually has less gateways than the Terran has factories. Terran is up to, approximately the same number up until recently when 2 more just got added. So it was been a very scrappy game so far in that regard for Protoss. And the recall
there's the recall.
Is it right on top of the tank? Yes, as predicted, he used the situation, but the 2 mines still managed to catch the Dragoons on the side.
Oh, and another stasis again. Oh, and here comes the army. They're going to walk up to these mines. They're going to be able to clear it. If they do, not too much FanTaSy can really do.
Yeah, the Observer's standing right there. The Zealots are on attack move, so they might still get hurt a little bit instead of running straight into the tanks. The Dragoons are focusing on the CC, but I don't think that even with Miss Micro of that nature, that FanTaSy will be able to hold this.
I'm going to try and fly his command center away, but I'm not sure it's going to work.
Burns. And GG.
Cold.
So game 1 goes to FanTaSy.
I guess he was just trying to emulate FanTaSy's GG timing.
That was the FanTaSy GG timing as far as I'm concerned.
I know.
As I've always said, and I'm a big FanTaSy fan, right? But as I've always said, if you've still got an SCV, a command center, or a command center enough minerals to build an SCV, the game still isn't over. Because you can still mine It'll take a while, but you can do it.
There are situations where the game isn't over if the Protoss loses all of their probes and all of their air units and all of their money, and Terran only has
And
one
they
floating
die.
building. That usually when people die, I think that ends the game. Honestly, Nita, I can't agree with you on
No,
that one.
they-
I'm sorry.
Their computer will stay in the game.
True. I've left
So
my
you
IC
have
cup
to-
running for 24 hours before. I've done it.
Oh, that's fairly impressive actually. And just throwing up.
Was that the 24-hour game?
Best game
I'm
ever.
sorry?
No, somebody did like a game that took like 12 hours or 24 hours or something. And
Oh,
I
in
watched
pro
the
gaming?
replay.
Or on IC cup?
IC Cup, I think.